Before you read John chapter 2, let's take a look to make sure you understand the big picture. So in John chapter 1, we saw the two questions we're trying to answer are, who is Jesus and who are we? And then in John chapter 2 here, we're going to open up. We're going to see Jesus' first miracle. It says the next day, there was a wedding celebration in the village of Cana in Galilee, and Jesus' mother was there. Now you can read this on your own, but the situation was they ran out of wine, and so Jesus' mother said, here, go ahead and turn the water into wine, because she knew who he was, and he ends up doing it. So interestingly, his first miracle is not to turn wine into water, like some Christians might think, but to turn water into wine. And don't forget that wine represents joy and gladness and satisfaction. And we'll come back to that, because what Jesus is doing, I think, with his first miracle is he's giving a little bit of a hint about what he had come for, what this was really all about. And this miraculous sign, as it says in verse 11, was the first time he revealed his glory. That means he was trying to point to who he was. He was trying to show people what he was here for. And it says his disciples believed in him. Now they're going to see a lot more miracles, much bigger miracles than this one, but they believe in him because of this first miracle. And the miracle really is more about his purpose of bringing joy and gladness, which is what wine represents, to the world, because that's what he's here for. He's going to come, he's going to go to the cross, and he's going to do it all so that we can have a rich and satisfying life. We're going to see that later in the book. It says then, this next little vignette in verse 13, it says it was nearly time for the Jewish Passover celebration. So Jesus went to Jerusalem. So now, in contrast to his first miracle, now he's going to go into the temple area in Jerusalem, and they pretty much had turned it into a business, and that really made him mad. And you can read about that. And he turns over the tables and all this kind of stuff. And then he says in verse 19, in the midst of all that, he says, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Now the people misunderstood him, thinking that he was talking about the physical temple, the Jewish temple where the Jews worshipped. But he was talking about his own body. So once again, he's beginning to give them hints about what he had come for and what he was going to do. He's talking about the resurrection in verse 19. And then later on in verse 23, at the bottom there, we start to get introduced to Nicodemus, and we're going to learn more about Nicodemus tomorrow in chapter 3. But look at what he says in verse 24 and 25. Jesus didn't trust people because he knew all about them. No one needed to tell him about human nature, for he knew what was in each person's heart. And you're going to see that Jesus understands the answers to the questions that we asked yesterday. Who is Jesus and who are people? Jesus understood it for sure, and this is what we'll understand the more we read. So read this chapter on your own, and I'll see you tomorrow for John chapter 3.